you serve before you sell.
Mm.
And so while real estate is seems to be a glamorous world, there's an 87% failure rate for
Yeah.
agents in their first 5 years.
Hi, everyone. This is Christine Miles, host of Shine a Light. I would like to introduce our guest today, Amy Lessinger. It's so nice to have you here, Amy. Hi.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
From Denver, right?
Yes, yes, a little cold today. I'm in a sweater.
A little cold today. It's coming. Happy holidays. We're almost there.
Right? We're almost there. I can't even
It's
believe it.
it's hard to believe how fast time flies. I'd like to just talk a little bit about you. I'm going to set the stage for our audience before we jump into our discussion. And this is probably not even going to do you justice because you're a chick that has done a lot. So I can't. I look forward to having the audience hear more about you. But just as a starting point, that you're pretty mission driven from what I know about you in our early introduction. You've spent your career helping leaders and high performers make bold, brave decisions that change everything. Driving clarity, strategic decision making, and executive leadership transformation. And just a few things that you've done that after 3 decades in leadership, including serving as the president of Remax, this is such a small role that you had, right? One of the
Yeah.
world's most recognized real estate brands, you learned that clarity and courage outperform complexity and caution, that leaders who win aren't the ones who play it safe, but the ones who know when to take an irreversible step, the moment where conviction meets action. And that's a lot of what you do. Is it's a framework you have, right? The irreversible step.
That's right.
So
Yes.
we'll talk more about that today. And I'd really like to just, with that brief introduction, take us back to kind of your start. How did you start your career? And then we'll even go back further and where maybe some of your passion and purpose showed up. But where did you
Sure.
begin?
Right out of college. My degree is in speech pathology and audiology, and I never practiced a day in my life. I went
Hmm.
straight into real estate right after that. I
Why?
really always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I wanted to be in charge of my own destiny, so to speak,
Hmm.
sink or swim.
Yeah.
And I said I would give it 3 years, just like I would have my advanced education. And I fell in love with it. I never looked back. From
Wow. Wait,
there,
so speech pathology, why that? Let's talk there.
I've
And what does it
always
have
loved
to
the
do with
medical
real
field.
estate? Okay, so there's something correlating here, I'm sure of it. So you always love
Yep.
the medical field.
Always loved the medical field. Very, very interested in how the body works,
Hmm.
the science of it, and then now, of course, there's a through line for me, which
Sure.
is all about human performance and potential, and why we do what we do, and why when we get stuck.
Hmm. So you liked understanding why things happened or how they worked from an early
Yes,
age.
yes.
Okay. So you studied that, but that is quite a leap into real estate. You wanted, why that? Is that just a way you saw that you could create your own destiny, or was there someone or something that influenced that?
Sure. My dad was a developer. So we
Ah,
always had, and we built every house we ever lived in. So we were constantly, looking at lots, building homes. He was constantly in the market for real estate. And so I remember back then we had a real estate book.
huh.
Nothing was online. And so
Yeah.
we would get it. And I would always flip through it, even, as an adolescent. I just loved real estate a lot.
So you were following him around, kind of watching him in the biz,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So and then you decided, well, I can try this, sell it, and was it commercial or was it
Residential predominantly.
residential?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So tell us more. Then what happened? You went from there to
So built a big, highly productive team, and
hmm,
then we built a near $1 billion brokerage during the middle of the Great Recession.
wow.
So this is where I feel like I learned so much about human performance, human potential. That's when I became really, really addicted to it, because we had two little kids, a 10,000 square foot office that was costing us
Hmm,
$24,000 a month. The
wow.
market was collapsing everywhere. Every single day, an agent would come in and say, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have bills to pay, and I
Hmm,
certainly don't know how I'm going to pay you. So I just, you know, that I think was my first irreversible step.
hmm,
I could have shuttered the business, protected what was left,
hmm.
but instead I chose to go all in, and I said, I'm not looking back. I'm going to pour myself into people, and I'm going to teach them how to win no matter what the market is doing. And so that's exactly what we did. And it was a long road. It was a hard road. We almost lost everything.
Who's
But
we? Who's we?
this is my former husband.
Okay.
And we
Okay.
built a business, and then we had a business partner as well,
Okay.
in an adjacent city. So the three of us were trying to take the world by storm in the middle of the Great Recession, and it just hit
Yeah.
us right in the face. And so it was one of those where, we had a choice,
Yeah.
and I was predominantly responsible for the growth of the business and leading of the agents. And so
And
I
how
just
many
said,
agents did you have?
we're going all in. We had just under 150,
It's a lot of
and
people.
it is a lot of people. Yes.
Okay.
By the time we sold it, yeah, we were doing just about $1 billion in sales and 150 agents.
Wow.
And it was just quite the ride. And that's where I really learned how to develop people and help them perform at levels they never thought they could. And I later took that into my role in the corporate world.
Okay.
Because I had a very unique lens as an entrepreneur, as someone who actually had been an operator in the business, and learning and bringing everything that I had from those experiences into a corporate environment. So I was a very different type of leader, truly, because I really believe that people perform at high levels when they feel seen, they feel heard, you understand what their talents are, maybe where their gaps are. I'm not the type of leader who wants to just sit there and pick on gaps. I'd really rather leverage someone's strengths and make sure that they're in the right role, doing the right thing so that we can leverage their strengths. And, I just found that those things that I learned from building performance in a market that was impossible just translated to so many things. And
Well, you're saying a lot here, so I want to dig in a little bit more because you're saying some really important things that make sense and also can feel quite intangible. Being in terms of knowing how to translate things for one, right? What you did well to help others learn how to do that. Isn't that the hardest thing about sales is and management and leadership is the competence we have, we assume that competence in, in others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I'd add to that, Christine, is I think we also assume oftentimes that what the role requires is what they should be good at. But there are people all the time that find themselves in roles where it's not playing to their strength.
Yeah.
And
Because of the way we promote people, because of the way
yes,
we entice people.
yes,
I had a guy at an HVAC company say to me one time, he was promoted to a manager and he was just stopped in his tracks. And he said, if you put me in a room with machines, I know exactly how to relate and what to do. You put me in a room with people, I am lost. And I'm like, let's fix that
right.
because you are never going to be, unless you are deeply motivated to figure that out,
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to be comfortable. Like that's
Right,
okay, right? So,
right.
but we do try to, and but again, there's enticement in let become a manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, people also, they want to elevate their income, and
sure.
that's the path, is
Yeah,
to be promoted.
yeah. Let's just talk about entrepreneurship because I think as I'm going to look outside in on the real estate business, and I don't want to make too many assumptions, but one thing I think is that there's a lot of real estate agents and because it looks easier than it is it's from my vantage point that I think it can look like high stakes. You make a sale, you make decent money. What did you really have to do? Again, I'm
Right.
just trying, and that could not be further from the truth.
Oh,
It's a dogfight because there
it
are
is.
so many, and getting a property of course now is a whole different matter, I'm sure, than even at various times.
Absolutely.
So, and you didn't just have, you started, I'm sure, with yourself. You didn't start with 150 agents. Dad
No,
didn't hand that over to you, right?
right. No,
No.
no, dad never gave me even a deal ever because he was already retired.
So you built this. So
Yes.
how did you build it? What, and I'm sure it ties into how you help people today, but so how did you first build it?
Well, it's one relationship at a time,
Hmm.
I think. And really, I have always been of the belief that you serve before you sell.
Mm.
And so while real estate is seems to be a glamorous world, there's an 87% failure rate for
Yeah.
agents in their first 5 years.
Wow.
It's
87%.
87% do not make it past
Wow.
the 5 year mark. So
It's like
there's a
insurance
huge
agents. Honestly, that's I think it's
right.
like 15% if you work for yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so because I think people go into it thinking, I want to help people.
Mhm.
And yet there's this undertow, which there's nothing wrong with it. I also want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Fair to
Yeah.
want to earn a lot of money. That's okay. But what they don't understand about the business is that it's a contact sport and it is a
Mm.
relationship business. And everything that you do to solve a person's problem becomes your brand. It
Yeah.
becomes your next transaction, and you're only as good as the last one you did.
Yeah.
So you can have an incredible month, so to speak, and help 6, 7, 8 families
Yeah.
fulfill their dream of either homeownership or selling and moving, and then have nothing the next month.
Yeah.
So it takes consistency, it takes discipline, it takes focus, it takes major people skills, it takes
Yeah.
wicked good listening skills, which
Mm.
you know all too well, Christine.
Yeah. I don't, I think it's, so I just, since we don't know each other that well, so I started my career as a home-based family therapist. That was my
Ah,
first job out of college, was knocking on
wow,
people's doors. And there is an intimacy that is hard to describe when you are going into people's houses to do your business. Now, I realize in the real estate business, they don't own the house yet, but how important is the kitchen versus the bedroom and the footprint in this? And there is no perfect house, right? Because
right.
unless you, even building a house, we make mistakes. So it is deeply, deeply personal because of what you're selling. So to me, what you just said is so, I mean, I believe this across businesses, but particularly in real estate, it's like this is as personal as it gets, right?
It is. It's an emotional firm. There's very few logical home buyers and sellers in their
Yeah.
decision-making process.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. There's a big difference between commercial real estate and residential real estate. Commercial real estate is all numbers driven.
Yeah.
The cap rate works or it doesn't.
Mm.
And it's not as emotional as this is the house I raised my children in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lost my husband last year, and now I'm looking at selling this whole world
Yeah.
that I've lived in.
Yeah.
That is deeply personal.
Or
Deeply.
after a divorce. So I've been through a divorce.
Absolutely. Or
Sounds like you've been
any
through a
number of
divorce.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so if you rush to just, I got to make this sale, you might get the short win, but you won't get the long game.
You won't. And it literally has to do with emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
your ability to listen far more than you talk. I think sometimes salespeople, they want to talk their way through everything. And I get it because they're relating to the person, they're showing that they're engaged. But I'll tell you, the ones that are the best in the business, they absolutely listen way more than they talk.
It almost sounds like I put you up to this, but I didn't.
But you didn't. You and I, though,
I
I think
didn't
we have,
put you up to this.
you didn't. No, not at all. But you and I, we have similar beliefs with respect to that. And that's
Yeah.
why I was really excited to come on and talk to you.
So so I'm in the field of listening and there's lots of specific things and I built a whole framework around how to listen in a different way. But let's just go practically. How did you say, okay, listen more than you talk? How did you help people do that rather than just, I mean, a lot of people say you have two ears and one mouth for a reason, use them in proportion. I happen to know that's easier said than done because
Sure.
we're taught to talk and
Mhm.
our brains are the greatest enemies of listening. So, but let's share your wisdom about how you helped your reps and, as you grew your business and then ultimately when you became into corporate and running the business, how you did that. How'd you help
I
them?
think the biggest thing was modeling it.
Mm,
I always wanted to know, why are you in the business?
mm,
What is your unique talent that only you have? What's the value that you bring to other people that you can do that nobody else can do? Why are you in this in
mm,
terms of not just to make money, but why?
mm.
So I wanted to know what made them tick. When I could figure out what made them tick, I could figure out how to help them perform. I
Okay.
couldn't just give some routine, rote tool,
Formula.
formula
Yeah.
without understanding how are they wired?
Yeah.
What is in their DNA? What is their personality type? So that's really how I did it. Was I became really obsessed with human behavior, human performance, human psychology around achievement. And I really wanted to get to the heart of what keeps people stuck, because I couldn't break them through if I couldn't understand that piece.
Yeah. I mean, so this can feel like a lot for people who this doesn't come more naturally to,
Mhm.
as leaders, as people that, aren't wired this way. We're not all wired with the same level of empathy
Sure.
or interest. I just still don't understand how the TV works. Like, it doesn't totally make sense to me. I mean, the picture comes in. I know there's a reason. Like, so I equate that to human behavior, which makes a lot more sense to me. So, but somebody can explain how the TV works, and then it makes sense. So let's talk about how do you ask these right questions, right? You really do seek to understand. So that's a big part of it. Are you also, in what you do now, helping people learn how to do this about themselves or just others?
Absolutely. I mean, now, I truly help leaders and companies make the one decision that's going to change everything.
Okay.
And so I call that the irreversible step. And I built a framework. It's the exact framework that I've used many times. And I contend that everybody at some point has taken an irreversible step. And
Mm-hmm.
what is it? It's really two things. It is a person decides what they want,
Mm-hmm.
who they're going to be, and then they take action
Mm-hmm.
and they become someone else, and they shut the door behind them and they never look back because they don't want to. So that's what I really call the irreversible step. And so I'll give you an example. I spent all that time building our brokerage, and then found myself feeling kind of numb,
Mm.
unfulfilled, unhappy. And I knew I needed to sell it. I knew it was time for me to go on and do something else, yet I couldn't quite do it because
Mm.
I didn't know who I was without it.
Yeah.
And that happens to people. And so it took me a lot of pain and a lot of years to finally make that decision. And only once I signed that contract, talk about an irreversible step, I didn't know what I was going to do next.
Hmm.
I just knew that this was the right thing for me and the business moving forward. That was what led me to the Remax presidency, which I really didn't see the corporate world, in my future at that moment. And so we don't become by just making a decision. We become by going through the decision,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
So, so if the action doesn't follow, basically, then we could still stay stuck.
Right. And, I've been stuck. And so I built the framework so that I could help people cut through and actually understand, here's where I am, here's where I want to go, and here's
Yeah.
how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Because there's, without a framework, and not noise and not fluff, because I am a driver personality, I don't like any of that stuff. I really just want, somebody to help me just get there
Yeah.
as quick as I can, but not without the depth. You want
Mm-hmm.
the depth too. There's a
Yeah.
both and there.
So you're in this position, you've built this brokerage, and it's, you've the baby's growing up. It's hard to cut
Yeah.
that, it's hard to let that go.
Yeah.
And, I think so many of us are in this position. This is what we're in our 20s and 30s, we're supposed to build to this amazing point, and then we think that's the end result is really what's going to make us happy. And
Mhm.
it's often the building is what makes us happy, isn't it? The
It
building of that.
is. We are not meant to stay the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that drove me to do the work that I do now, is I have just seen far too many people who know that something isn't quite right, that they want more,
Mm-hmm.
that that they're unhappy where they are, and then, or organizations, they're stagnant where they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah.
And there's legacy thinking, and there's all the reasons why it's just sort of sitting in this place. And I want people to understand, and organizations that understand, that you can design any kind of life, any kind of organization that you want. But it takes clarity, and it takes a decision-making framework in order to get you from where you are to where you want to go.
Otherwise,
So
we go
that's
on
what I'm doing.
autopilot, right?
Yeah. Well, and I found myself there, in terms of the money was great.
Mm-hmm.
We had all the awards, we had the accolades, we had all the things,
Yeah.
but those are all external
Yeah.
validators.
Yeah.
What about the internal validators? It was like, I feel like I've mastered this.
Mm-hmm.
I want more people to help. I want
Yeah.
different people to help. I want, a bigger stage, so to speak. Not that, that I'm driven to just be on stage. It was more about impact.
Who you could
Reach.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people might think you love real estate, which you do, but really the love that I'm hearing is the love of helping people find the passion and what makes them tick. And even inside your real estate business,
Yes.
that your true core was really about feeding that and helping others in that realm
Yes.
versus the product you were selling, which was the house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If I
but that,
couldn't understand why they wanted, I want to sell my home. Why?
yeah.
What does this mean to you? Well, we're relocating, and my husband's already moved, and I've got the kids, and I've got to get them in school before September.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what's it going to mean if we don't accomplish that?
Yeah.
And what does it mean to you if we do accomplish it? And now you've got a foundation that you can go back to when things get messy, because boy, you haven't met messy until you've seen a real estate transaction, because
Yeah.
it's emotional on both sides.
Right.
And so now you can tie people to their why and say, you're right, this is a road bump. We've got a couple of options for how we want to fix it. The biggest thing that I promised you I'd do in the very beginning was anchor you to what you said you wanted.
Right.
You said you wanted to get your kids there by August.
Right.
And so if we make this choice over here, how does it affect that choice? And so really helping people kind of ground back.
Yeah.
And that's just a skill that I wasn't always good at it. That's for sure. I've certainly had to learn. But it's just a skill that I've always brought to the teams I've worked with, organizations I've led, the businesses I've built.
I call this slowing down to speed up. This is where you take the time to slow down and get the beginning of the story, the beginning of what this is about before you rush to solving, and it will pay dividends for countless situations, conversations, and outcomes. So,
And you're building the relationship on trust.
Yeah, but it's counterintuitive, isn't it? It's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
You want to rush because you're like, I want to get that listing contract signed.
Sure.
You will.
Yeah.
Just go through the process.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you help others now slow down in that way and make sure, as part of the asking those right questions, talk us through the framework?
Well, the framework starts with telling the truth. And this is for organizations or individuals. Who am I? What do I want? What's really true? Because so often high achievers, they stuff it down. They say, I should be grateful. I'm in the biggest role of my career.
Yeah. How dare I feel this way?
Yeah, this is as good as it gets. Or in order for me to have the life that I want, I have to downgrade the one that I have. All those things. Organizations do it in terms of, well, this is how we derive our revenue. This is, how we've always done it. Well, we can't do that because of X, Y, or Z. So they also find themselves stagnant. But I find that in organizations, when you start to say, what's true? Where are we right now? What's true? And they have to sort of look at it and go, well, we're not happy with our results.
Yeah.
We're not happy with our results. We're not innovating fast enough. We are just in run and maintain mode. Those kinds of things. It happens.
Sure.
To companies all the time. And I think that when the playbook runs out, success isn't always the problem. Change is the problem.
Change is hard.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's hard with the what you know versus what you don't know, and that fear can keep people. But your
Yep.
contention is being stuck isn't going to bring, it's not going to bring you what you want in the end.
No, absolutely not. And I think every company really, they tell two stories: the one they know, and then once you get into this framework, it's the one that they're meant to live next.
Mm,
Like, so once we've kind of established, what's true, now what's possible.
hmm
So for individuals, so often, let's say you've got somebody who's been in corporate life their entire career, and now they want to go ahead and open that business.
Yeah.
That's such a giant leap.
It's a
It's such
giant
a huge
leap.
leap. And it's
Yeah.
hard for people to say, I'm actually going to take that jump, which again is why the framework is so important, because by exploring what's possible, we can minimize either or thinking. Our
Mm,
brains are very linear. They say you can either have a high paying job
hmm.
or you can build that business you want. Well, is that true?
Okay.
What
Yeah.
else is true? What else is possible? And so by asking your brain better questions, it starts to deliver better answers. And
Mm,
same thing is true of organizations. Um, Once organizations reach a high level of success, and they too have the accolades and the title
yeah.
and the awards, understanding and leaning into what's possible can become really difficult because there's hierarchy,
Mm,
there is legacy thinking,
sure.
there is sometimes penalty for actually saying what you think, which might in fact be right, but is counter to other leaders.
Mm.
So that's why exploring what's possible in a neutral open setting becomes so important.
So how do you create that? So
Mhm.
so there's legacy, and this is just norms. This is really, you're talking behavioral norms, you're talking
Sure.
cultural norms.
Yep.
It's hard to fix something when it doesn't feel broken.
Yep.
This is, in psychological terms, this almost some it feels somewhat like self-actualization. You have your basic needs met, you have your safety needs met, and then you're like, okay, but what's the next level? Which
Right.
is a great problem to have, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Uh,
Absolutely. And depending on the organization, I want to have a conversation with each of the high level leaders
mm,
separately,
yeah,
because then you get the stuff, you get the
yeah,
real stuff. You don't just get the, everybody's listening, everybody's self auditing,
yeah,
everybody's making sure they're not saying the wrong thing. And so when you have the capacity to really hear and understand and allow possibility to come forward. So, I mean, it's just so often we as our own selves and then organizations as a whole, they'll thwart that entire piece
yeah,
because now comes fear.
yeah,
Fear is designed to keep us safe. It is a biological thing. It happens every single time you even think about change.
yeah,
Your amygdala goes, no, 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 no. Let me
yeah,
tell you all the reasons why this is a terrible idea. And
yeah,
so fear has a very valid um, role, but it shouldn't lead. It
mm.
shouldn't get to decide the next chapter or decide the next story.
I think about that in terms of one of the things that I've encountered a lot with just individual managers is the
Mhm.
fear of letting someone go, even when they're not a great performer, because the fear is I won't have a body then, or I won't have somebody to do that work, or I don't know if I'll find somebody else. So when we manage anything by fear, we're probably not making the best decisions, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Absolutely. I mean, at that point, you're playing not to lose. You're
yeah,
not playing to win.
yeah.
I
All
mean, so
defense.
it's all defense, and you might win for a little while, but you're still going to pay the price.
So it sounds like you go in and you're a conduit into the
Mhm.
conversation being different, that you're
Yeah,
creating
whether it's
safety individually and then
mhm.
bringing everyone together and saying, here, we've gotten to the real story. We know what's really where we are. And let's ask some really important questions so that we can start to decide what
Yep,
the right thing is.
that's right. Well, and the next step is, you know, choose your path.
Hmm.
So we want to figure out the one thing. What's the thing we should do? And it doesn't always work like that. So with an individual, particularly for women,
Hmm.
they find themselves just doing everything. They're just overextended in every area of their life.
Yeah.
And so when you think about pick a path, they tend to be thinking about, what do I have to cut? What do I have to streamline? What do I have to systemize?
What do I have to give up? Yeah.
Right. Right. And instead, it's like, okay, well, if we fixed just the one thing that would make the biggest difference, what would it be? Is it a boundary? Is it putting it yourself first? Is it putting yourself first? Is it resetting relationships that are out of bounds? For an organization, it's okay, we know that our revenue is down. We derive revenue from these, 5 places. And if we did one thing to fix that, what direction would we head? So now we've got a path. So it's sort of like when you put your GPS, you put New York in your GPS. You know what? You might hit an alternate route. You might hit some detours, but this is
where we're going. Yeah.
So, and then from there, it's build the bridge. Now it's all about how do we get from where we are now to where we want to go? And here's the trouble with high performers and organizations. High performers want the perfect plan.
Yeah.
So do organizations. Every step mapped, every possible, turn and twist along the way. And here's what I contend. Your bridge needs to be strong enough for people to believe it and to step on it. It doesn't need to be this all-encompassing, because how many times in your life or in business have you seen when you choose the path that you're going to go, everything starts to kind of shape up and align and move in that direction.
Yeah.
And you don't have to overwork it, overthink it, oversolve it. You just have to get clear, make a decision, and move in that direction.
It's hard. Again, I think it's so important what you're saying. I've written a book, and I've taken, I've gotten advice, and I've been with other authors, and perfection is the antithesis to progress. It's that, and anybody that I've heard that has really been successful at writing is throw perfection out, write a D- draft, get the words on the paper, and then start fixing it, because otherwise that book isn't coming out of your body.
That's right.
And it was incredible advice, because that's really the real fun, is when once you have something on paper and then you start to edit it. And isn't that
good advice? Because I'm writing mine now, Christine. So.
Well, we could, I mean, here's what I will pass the wisdom on that I've gotten from very successful people at this, and it is really good advice, and it's a climb to so many words. But I hear the parallel in what you're saying, because I think decisions can feel like we have to have the perfect plan. You need a good plan that you can edit and iterate along the way. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And then that last step is, now you take your irreversible step. And so what does that mean? Well, I told you earlier, the irreversible step is when you decide and you act and you take a step that makes it really hard for you to go back. So I shared with you, one of mine was selling the company. When I signed that contract, I wasn't unsigning.
Yeah, you can't undo it.
You can't undo it. When I quit my job after college that I was a student employee, and decided to get my real estate license and not have a steady paycheck and just be commission only. That's an irreversible step.
That's an irreversible.
So
it takes guts.
Yeah, and so for an organization, you commit resources. You commit the resources, and you commit to, and maybe you even make the announcement, because you can't take that back.
It is true. It is. Well, you can, sure, but it's not great. Yeah,
it's not about being reckless. It's about being committed. It is decision architecture, because we are so paralyzed because there's infinite choices.
Yeah.
And that gets in the way of progress every single time.
Yeah. Nothing. It's a level of accountability, isn't it? When you say it out loud.
It could be a public declaration.
Yeah.
It could be a contract. It could be, any number of things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not that you can't take it back. It's just that you don't want to. Because you're now somebody else, or the organization is something else.
It also sounds like, based on your years of experience and what you've constructed, that you're helping people and organizations make sure that they're moving towards the right step and not just a step, which is a big difference. Yeah.
Yes.
because
Well,
we
what I
can make the
find,
wrong irreversible step, and there's no
yes,
perfection here. But when you do the first, it's that slowing down to speed up. When you do that upfront work, it makes a difference in the action, doesn't it?
it does. And I think I'd add to that in terms of when high achievers, even organizations, they stuff it down, they kick the can down the road and say, we'll deal with that next quarter or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. And individuals go, I should be grateful. No, I can't deal with that right now. I've got all this other stuff. The decision never gets lighter, it always gets heavier,
Mm,
always. And so I think that that's the part, that's the cost of indecision,
mm.
is it has a price, always.
Well, it's a different kind of procrastination,
It
right?
is.
We procrastinate the things that are. It's just human nature that
Yep.
we don't like to do. I try to do the hardest things on that I the things I like least first on my to do list because,
Yep.
that's easier. So what kinds of companies do you work with, and high achieving individuals, and how do they find you? And talk a little bit about your clients.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a 6 week transformation experience for individuals. So
Okay.
this is much more about personal transformation.
Okay.
And then on the corporate side, I've got a program that I call Leap.
Mm,
And this is all about designing your leadership and decision framework.
mm,
And it's rooted in the irreversible step, but it's tooled much more toward, the corporate environment. This could be, publicly traded or privately held,
okay.
usually in that range of, anywhere from, 10 million up to about, that 300 million mark
Okay.
is
Great.
right about
Yeah.
my sweet spot.
And you speak as well. You go out and
I
speak for,
do.
yeah, you love the
I
speaking?
love to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I
people
just
can,
did two last week, and
where were
I
you?
just thoroughly enjoy it. One was here in Denver,
Hmm.
and the other one was in New Mexico.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Good for
Yeah, it
you.
was fun.
So, and when is your books in process? Are you nearing
It is. It
a
is.
date? Do you have a launch date or
Yeah,
you're not?
we think 2026. I'm not. I'm really hoping it's Q3, but we'll
Nice.
see.
Good. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that for sure. So
Yeah.
tell people where they can find you.
They can find me at amylessinger.com or the irreversiblestep.com. I am on all the social channels under Amy Lessinger.
Okay.
And, I read every email, I read every interaction, I enjoy it. And it's a way that I stay connected to the pulse of what's going on out there.
Your heart is at the people. Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
very much so.
I can see, I think I see and understand that about you very clearly. You exude that, which is really lovely.
Thank you.
And I really think people can learn a lot about what it means to lead. The world's changing. It's even more so with the generational changes. And
Mhm.
this is so important. What you're saying is that when you help people feel seen, heard, and understood, they will go to the wall for you.
They will,
They will
absolutely. And
go
I
to the
think
wall for
too,
you.
this is a whole nother topic, Christine, but AI, you know,
That is so true.
I
There's a
love
lot to
AI.
say. Yeah.
I think AI is
And
amazing. It's the
and
revolution. And don't lose the human piece.
yeah. Yeah.
AI doesn't decide. It doesn't have emotions. It's,
Well, and the quality
don't
of
lose
AI
the
is the
human piece.
questions you ask it, just like human beings. That is
That's
the
right.
one thing they have in common.
Yes,
So, yeah, that would be interesting to tap and talk about that at a future date with you,
for
because
sure.
it's such an important topic. But you're absolutely delightful. I think that people should reach out to you and find out more. I'm sure you have a process where people can at least get
I
to
do.
know you a little bit before they commit. But
Oh, I do. I've got
if you're
free
think
tools and all the
yeah,
things.
if you're
Yep.
thinking this is you, reach out to Amy, and I have a feeling she can help you get to the next level. So, thank you for joining us on Shine a Light. Always a pleasure, and thank you for the words like emotional intelligence and that listening matters, and all the important things about the soft side of the of leadership. So, thank you for bringing that to the
Thank you,
forefront.
Christine. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Shine a Light.